So in this segment, we're going to be talking about an article by William Keegan saying Brexit will make a bad recession even worse, but Sunak and Truss won't question it. And I have some issues with this article, purely because he uses some not dubious statistics, but not the best kind of statistics. And also the fact that there was a lot more I think he could have spoken about that would have made a lot more sense in the context of this article, which I'll talk about at the end of the video. So he says Britain is rapidly entering its worst economic crisis since the 70s, and I have questions. Was the 70s that bad? I don't know. I wasn't around back then. I've only heard stories. Was it that bad? Let me know in the comments. All you old people who love telling stories about when you were young. Let's hear them. The National Institute of Economic and Social Research, the NIESR, which is very catchy, and the Bank of England have both pronounced that we are entering a recession that could last much of next year. Not great. It could be a couple of quarters. We're in it, say 3 potentially. That's really bad. Yet the message from Truss and Sunak is that what really matters is whether that conservative nirvana of tax cuts is offered now or later. And that's all they have to offer. Are tax cuts now? Sunak saying, once inflation's under check, we'll do tax cuts. As Chancellor, he didn't do a lot of tax cuts, and as Foreign Secretary, as a senior cabinet minister, Liz Truss did not really brief that she wanted to push these sorts of policies. Very interesting. And of course good services have to be paid for, as he points out. Whilst acknowledging that the main source of current inflation is rising energy and food prices, aggravated by a war declared by Russia, are beyond its control, the Bank of England has raised interest rates to guard against the possibility of imported inflation, setting off a price-wage spiral. And what the Bank of England here, I think, are doing with increasing interest rates so much, I don't think is a good idea. For a lot of reasons, because at the end of the day, it's not the average person that's causing the inflation. It's not price wage inflation. It's price gouging. It's a load of companies that have not monopolies, but not a million miles away from a lot of market control here. And what they do is they price gouge people. We've seen that with supermarkets making massive profits. We're seeing that with energy generators. The ones that actually sort of generate the oil or the gas or whatever. Not the suppliers, not the ones that kind of sell you it directly. The ones who sell it to the suppliers. They're the ones who are making massive money. Centrica, essentially the parent arm, Shell, BP. They're making tons and tons of money here. And that's what's happening. We're being price gouged. That's what's one of the key things that's causing the inflation we have right now. Even other companies like BT, British Telecoms, they're another one where they're causing massive problems with their price increases and the fact that they won't distribute the money. So realistically, what the Bank of England here are doing is not smart. What they need to do is they need to push the government to push for more windfall taxes and other things. We need more distribution. That's a key problem. And that's one of the reasons why the union are fighting. It's not really mentioned in this article, but that's my opinion anyways. With the NIESR even concerned that inflation could reach an astronomical 17%. I'm not about that life, man. 17%, that's madness. That's insane right there. That's genuinely crazy. A lot of people struggle. The winter, you've got energy prices potentially going to hit about the 5k mark. That's madness. He says, now we are not only a nation to be hit by Russia's declaration of economic war, but Brexit is making a lot of things worse. In a new study, Richard Morris of the European Movement says Brexit is widely recognised as the worst act of self-harm in modern times. I don't know, that seems like a stretch. The OBR estimate of the 4% hit to Britain's productivity or GDP is well known, but as the evidence mounts, the NIESR estimates as nearer 5 or 6%. That's significantly more than what the OBR predicted, and that's a huge damage. You're talking billions. Harold Lever, a Labour minister of the 70s, says Brexiteers like Sunak and Truss are frolicking in the margins of economic policy when the Brexit they promised or they promote will seriously undermine anything they do. Because at the end of the day, what the UK needs is a massive systemic overhaul. Tax cuts and these other things they're promising, they're not gonna make a dent. The consequences are now hitting British business and the general public. When the two contestants of Tory leadership were recently asked whether the chaos at the Channel reports were caused by Brexit, they said no. Which obviously it is caused by Brexit. It's caused by the checks they have to do on passports, the third country checks. And honestly, they could go a lot slower than they are now. They can cause a lot more problems if they really wanted to, the French could. Truss and Sunak go on about the need for investment, but British firms' investment has been stifled by Brexit. One of the most damning statistical comparisons is that the EU's GDP ahead has grown by 8.5% since Brexit, whereas the UK figure is 3.8%. I wouldn't use such a figure. because the UK is classed as a developed economy. So I would only really compare us to other developed economies, but the EU has developed economies like France and Germany and Italy, but also has developing economies, kind of like the Baltic states, Poland, for example, and multiple others. I think Croatia might be classed as that as well. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to besmirch anyone's nation state and get attacked in the comments for my ignorance. But point being is that it's not an apples to apples comparison. He says, I fear that that's the kind of thing you get when you abandon your nearest and principal export market in the interest of sovereignty. And that's true. When you abandon your biggest trading partners, this is what can happen. This is what will happen. He kind of mentions he wants David Gork back. Gork recently wrote that no candidate dare question the wisdom of leaving the EU, argue for measures to repair the damage caused, or even deviate from the policy of breaching international law. The hard Brexiteers have won. And I think this article leaves... It could be better. I think it could be a lot better. Purely because, when you talk about recession, right, our imports have gone up a lot. The cost of imports has gone up because of customs fees, VAT, and all the extra paperwork that's associated with it. But also our exports have gone up dramatically because of all of those associations, and more. Because the EU are doing full checks on our goods, physical inspections, etc., and we're not. And you even have companies that aren't being able to export to the EU anymore. We mentioned it. This video will hopefully come out first, but Strepsil Meringue firm ends EU exports over Brexit, and you'll have more stories like that. You'll have more stories of companies setting up subsidiaries, which means less tax paid in the UK. Companies cutting our investment. Foreign direct investment is down compared to a country like France. Our exports have bucked the trend of developed countries, where our exports haven't actually gone up to pre-pandemic levels when most other developed economies have. When you talk about a recession being made worse because of Brexit, it's all of these kind of factors. Imports have gone up, exports have gone up, productivity has gone down, massive labour shortages. These are the things I think he should have spoken about in this article. When you come out of the statement, Brexit will make a bad recession worse, I think you should talk about the specific things that Brexit will do to make a bad recession worse, and the fact that neither of these two clowns are actually talking about it. That's the key problem. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you want. Let me know. Let The Guardian know if you want me to ever start writing rambling articles for them. It'd be fun. And I'll catch you next time.